the last class we looked at the impact matrix with respect to an organization. So, the different trends, what is the probability of occurrences of the trends, then what is the impact on strategies which these trends can have, and how can there be an impact scale on this. So, in order to draw this impact matrix, we said we make use of an impact scale, and this impact scale goes from 0 to plus 2 on the one hand and minus 2 on the other hand, that is minus 2 going to extremely unfavorable, then plus 2 going to extremely favorable. Now, an organization can draw this impact matrix. After drawing this impact matrix, it will give the organization an idea of the type of trends that can be visualized in the environment. That makes the organization more and more curious, one, and also essential to know what is the type of competitors who are there in the market. They would like to analyze these competitors, that is, the analysis of competition becomes more and more important to the organization concerned. So, this need to study competition is extremely essential in a competitive market. Suppose you are operating in a monopolistic market, let us say, then that need will be less, but in a hyper competitive market like what we are in the present day, this need to study competition becomes extremely crucial. Now, the question that comes, what are we trying to do when we say we want to study competition? We want to look at what is driving competition in the specific industry. Is it the large number of players alone who are making the market extremely competitive, or is it the product mix of the competing players which is making the market extremely volatile? Then in the product mix itself, each of the products, is there a substantive degree of differentiation between the players? Now, how does my company fit in this type of a scenario? These are the types of questions which engages the mind of the company. So, this is what is driving competition in specific industry. We are looking at these types of questions from the company side, try to seek answers to those questions. What is the second question which what is the second aspect which engages a company? That is, what actions competitors are likely to take in the wake of increased competition. What do you mean by increased competition? Suppose as a company you enter the market, let us say, What does that mean? One more player is added into the market. When one more player is added into the market, automatically there is an increased competition. Now, the question comes, suppose this competition, how is it going to be viewed by the other existing players in the market? How are they going to view this increased competition, inverted commas? There is a new player coming in, he is coming out with products, new products, different product mix. How is the market going to view this? Now, all this can be mapped or all this can be put in the form of an industry structure. So, you take an industry structure and then see where does your industry fit in, or where does the type of company that you are operating fits in. I have given here some factors and the type of competition that is possible. If you look at it, suppose the number of factors in a perfect competition, there are many factors. Similarly, in the case of a monopolistic competition, again many factors. Suppose it is an oligopoly, what is going to happen? Suppose there are number of factors in a perfect competition, what is going to be the state of the industry? There will be number of players, many players. Similarly, in a monopolistic competition, many players. In an oligopoly, there are few players, whereas in a monopoly, there is only one player. So, this is the type of scenario you are going to have. Then the next question is, suppose you have this type of a scenario, how does product differentiation take place? If you look at perfect competition, now you may ask the question, is there a perfectly competitive scenario existing in the market, or is there such a situation existing at all? The answer that we will have to give as an academician is no, but there are situations which are very close to perfect competition. Suppose you look at a consumer product, say take a very simple consumer product, say rice, and take a particular brand of rice, let us say, which is sold in Bangalore, say let us say this one of the common varieties of rice which is sold in Bangalore is what is called the Bangaru Sanna, that is a variety of rice. So, this suppose you want to take this type of a rice from a merchant, whether it is A, B, C or D, it is very possible and very likely that you will get the same quality of rice in all these different merchants whom you go. Now, the next question is, how do you pick up that one merchant from where you purchase this rice? Suppose you are new to the city, new to the area, new to the region, whatever, then you may say, I will be dictated by the small price variation which these different merchants are going to give. That is, suppose let us say one is quoting x, suppose the other person is quoting x minus delta x, a small delta x less compared, let us say, then as a consumer who is interested in price, you may say, since the commodities are more or less the same, why not I go to this consumer who is giving this commodity at a little lower price compared to this particular merchant. Now, suppose you are already there existing or already resident in a particular area, you may not do this type of exercise, because you may be purchasing the product from the same merchant over a number of years. So, you are generally happy with the quality of the product, and you are generally sure that this merchant will not charge excess to you. So, you will not do this all this exercise, you will say no problem, let the rice come from this merchant. So, if you look at the most of our houses, you get this type of an answer from the housewife. She will say, we are purchasing the rice from this particular merchant. So, we are generally sure of the quality of the rice, and we are generally sure that he is not going to charge excess. Suppose you are new to a particular area, then you may have to do all this exercise. But in a perfect competitive scenario or in a perfect competition, there is not much to distinguish between product A of a merchant A and the same product from the other merchants, because the attributes of the products are almost same, cutting across. So, the only small minor variations of price and other delivery aspects might provide the key for marketing. Okay. This is the scenario in a monopolistic competition also. But whereas in oligopoly, where there are few players existing, then there is scope for product differentiation. So, the product that a merchant A exhibits can be differentiated from the product that the merchant B exhibits in terms of the attributes. You take for example, the two wheelers which are existing in the market. So, you make a small comparison of the two wheelers. You have number of reputed players in the two wheeler market. You can name them, you have the TVS, you have the Honda, you have the Yamaha. Now, let us say you are interested in making the purchase of a bike, then you are interested in certain characteristics or attributes of this particular product. Now, you have to zero in on those attributes in the different manufacturers, which more or less closely match with what you have in mind. So, you may like a higher speed in a vehicle, you may find that a particular model of TVS which you are going in, the speed or the pickup is not to the extent that you desired, and when you look at an Yamaha, you may say, oh, this is having this nippy pickup compared to TVS. So, if you really look at these types of attributes in a product, the consumer may zero in on a particular product depending on the differentiating factors. So, you have in an oligopolistic market a product differentiation that is fairly perceptible or visible. This is visible to you. Now, what about a monopoly? In the case of a monopoly, there is only one player. There is nothing like product differentiation, or at least you do not know about the product differentiation. You may tend to think that whatever product is coming from him is perhaps the best product, or you may tend to think the other way, since he is the only one player in the market, we have to be put up with whatever product he gives. In other words, there is a, what do you call, a seller's market when you are in the monopoly type of a situation, whereas in the other types of situation you are more or less coming into a buyer's market, and when you are in a buyer's market, a buyer always has the edge, that is, he can always dictate or he can always call the shots in the market and say, this is what I want from the market, give me this type of a product, and more or less he is likely to succeed in that type of a scenario. This is the type of market which you are seeing in the present Indian context right now, where the buyer more or less has the say, ultimate say. He says that this is what I want, and he more or less walks out with it. Now, in this type of different competition, what is going to happen to entry or exit? Suppose it is perfect competition, it is open to all to enter. So, you want to enter this field? Yes, enter. You have the wherewithal or the resources, anybody can enter this particular field. Now, this is more or less true of most of the products in the Indian scenario. Anybody can enter into manufacturing of most of the products in the Indian market. This was not the scenario earlier, where you had restricted entry for many products, you were putting it under different categories and saying this cannot be done by private players, or this product cannot be manufactured by private players, all this was there. Now, that type of category or that type of small categorization, the type of categorization itself has become very small. You have a very small band where a private manufacturer is not allowed. Okay. So, this is what the LPG era has come to. So, they has come to really in this LPG era, you have a situation where you have a number of players in almost every market. Okay. Now, whereas in monopolistic competition also, it is open to anyone to enter, whereas in an oligopoly there are some restrictions. So, these restrictions may be imposed, it may be imposed by the country concerned or by the law enforcing agencies concerned, and what is going to happen? This restricted means your entry is also not so open, your exit is also not so open, that is, you cannot really exit from the market. Whereas, in the case of a perfect competition or in the case of a monopolistic competition, you can enter and exit the market at your free will. Whereas, in the case of an oligopoly competition, your entry is somewhat restricted, not blocked, kindly note that. Similarly, your exit is also somewhat restricted. So, this is the type of scenario you are going to operate in. Compared to a monopoly, that is, you are the monopoly in that particular market. Now, suppose can you exit that market, that is, can that company exit that market? The answer is no, you cannot exit that market. Your entry into that monopoly market is also blocked, your exit is also blocked. So, what could be an example for this? Take the Indian Railways. Can anyone enter as a competitor to Indian Railways, that is, can he operate his own rail system? The answer is a firm no. The next question is, can Indian Railways say that we will not run? the answer is again a no. So, the entry is also blocked, the exit is also blocked. So, it is more or less a monopoly type of a market where Indian Airlines is dictated by certain obligations to the society. Indian Railways is dictated by certain obligations to the society which it has to discharge. So, Indian Railways more or less is in the monopoly market in the present day scenario. Now, okay, fine, we looked at the types of industry structures and what are the factors, the different types of markets that are possible. Now, what do we do in this competitive analysis? That is, what exactly are you going to study with respect to this competitive analysis? We are looking at the strategy of each of these players. That is, in other words, you are trying to have the market intelligence of the different competitors in the marketplace. You want to gather market intelligence. That is, how is this strategy of this player? How has he entered this market? Strategy can be with respect to different aspects, whether it is his pricing or product or the place or the time of entry or the positioning, how does he want, how has he positioned the product. So, you may like to look at all these aspects. So, a very simple product, let us say like candy in the western market. Even a product like candy is positioned in such a way that it is unlikely to escape the attention of the child. So, it is when the child is walking out of the supermarket store or walking out with its parents, it is very likely that this candy will catch the attention of the child and it is going to demand for a candy, and it is very probable that the parents will say yes to that. So, the candy company is really cashing in on the shelf positioning of that product. Okay. So, how does it position itself in that scenario? There are different positionings. What I gave you as an example is a very simple one. How have you positioned the product with respect to that particular store? Now, positioning can be with respect to the market itself. So, it can be a low priced and a low calorie market, suppose it is a food item, or it can be a low priced medium calorie market, or it can be a high priced high calorie market, or it can be a high priced medium calorie market, name it, all these types of positionings are possible. So, you have to be clear which product are you operating with and which market are you operating in, and depending on that you come up with a positioning strategy, how you want to position your product. Now, the next thing which you are interested with respect to the market, that is the competitive analysis, is what is the current performance of this player in the marketplace. What do you mean by current performance of this player in the marketplace? What is that aspect in which you are more interested? That aspect in which you are more interested or mostly interested is what is the market share which this player is commanding in the marketplace. So, how much does he command? Does he command 1% or 2%, or is he himself a monopoly, that is, he is commanding 95%, and if I enter this market, let us say, I will have to look at the remaining 5%, draw from that 5%, is it a feasible proposition. All these types of issues you have to address yourself before entering either that product or that market. So, in a competitive analysis, the company is looking at the current performance of the players, how much does this player have with respect to market share. Now, why do you want to look at this? This is a question which you have to address. You want to look at this because you want to find out whether there is some open space possible where you can come in and fill a slot. That is, as a company you can come in and fill a slot and make good your stay in that market. That is, you are staying in that market. Why do you want to stay in that market if it is not worthy of staying? What do you mean by worthy of staying? If it is not profitable. Now, the next question which you are doing as a analysis for the competitors is also his strengths and weaknesses. Question is, suppose I enter this market, how are the other competitors going to react? Is it that I enter as a small player and the others are very big players? Is it possible that these other players will devour me as a small player? Then what should I do? All these questions start coming in. Or suppose you find that the market players who are already existing or who are in the market, they are not very strong players, let us say, and you can easily and comfortably stay in the market, then you are always in an advantageous position in such a type of a scenario. Then the next one more question which you have to address as a part of this competitive analysis is, what are the actions which these players, what are they likely to take with respect to the products or the markets in the near future? Not a very huge scenario, you are not looking at a 5-year scenario, things like that. Now, this is what I suggested, what I told you in the earlier classes. When we are looking at corporate planning, you are looking at a scenario from 5 to 10 years. When we started looking at strategic management, the time horizon got shrunk to 3 years. Now, when you are looking at the different types of IT industries, what is happening? You are looking at the next year scenario only, and for looking at the next year scenario only, you are most of the IT industries are coining this term, our guidance suggests. So, this our guidance suggests. So, the guidance is for the next quarter itself. So, for the next quarter only what is going to happen, that type of a scenario. So, in this type of a scenario, what is the type of actions that are expected in the near future from the different players? Now, the question is, okay, you do all this competitive analysis, where will it lead you? This leads you to gain competitive advantage in the marketplace. The question is, what are the routes to this competitive advantage? I am giving you some idea of what are the types of routes that you can have for competitive advantage. You may intensify function differentiation. This can be a key factor for success. You may say this product is different from the other products in the marketplace because this can deliver for you these things 1, 2, 3, 4. A product like, I have given you this example like this Match 3 blade. He says it is a triple blade technology, that is 3 blades put in different angles, which goes through your beard very fast, one, and gives you a very smooth shave. This is the type of thing which the company claims, that is this company Gillette. So, it is the key factor for success for that company, that is the product differentiation, that is the function differentiation, whereas other players are also there, they are also having different shaving systems, but this shaving system is not possible or has not been possible to be imitated by the other players so far. Now, this is one of the key factors of success. We will study a little more about these key factors in a short while now. Then the next question is, you can also make use of the competitor's weakness to gain competitive advantage in the marketplace. That is, suppose a particular competitor is say weak, you can cash in on that weakness. So, a very mundane, very current example which is being quoted. So, the Indian cricket team. So, what is the area of weakness which many other international teams keep on pointing at, is the Indian bowling is not up to that top level. So, what does it mean? So, the other competing nations want to cash in on this weakness, but what is the great strength of the Indian cricket team, which the other competing teams also recognize, is its batting. They say its batting is very strong. So, even a tall order score can be matched or can be countered effectively by this team. So, for the Indian team, what is the route to gain competitive advantage? It should first overcome its weakness with respect to bowling. For the competitor, what is it? It has to gain, what is the route to competitive advantage? It has to really peck on this weakness of this particular side, let us say the bowling's weakness. Similarly, with respect to other product markets also, same things hold. Then one of the other routes that a company can take for gaining competitive advantage is going in for an aggressive initiative, that is, it can be an aggressive marketing. So, these are questions which are asked by the aggressive marketers. Ask these questions, whys. So, this type of questioning. So, if you really see, there are many players, private players in the current market scenario in the country who are adopting aggressive initiatives. So, one of the banks which is adopting these aggressive initiatives in the private sector is the ICICI Bank, whether it is their loan product, whether it is their home loan product or their automotive loan product or personal loan product, name it, highly aggressive initiatives to push the product through. Then the other route to competitive advantage, one more, that is maximize user benefit. That is, you have to convince the user that by taking this particular product, the user really stands to benefit vis-a-vis the other competing markets. That is, your product, if he is taking, he stands to really benefit compared to the other products. This is called the strategic degree of freedom. Now, I list below 3 generic strategies which were given by Porter. What are the types of strategies which Porter suggested? to gain competitive advantage. So, if you really see, he suggested what is called gaining competitive advantage. One, through focus, second through differentiation, third through overall cost leadership. So, this is the way this whole Porter's generic strategy, this figure can be drawn. You see this focus, you are going from a low cost position to the uniqueness perceived by the customer, and then you are going from a particular segment to the whole industry segment. So, the strategic target will tell you whether you are focused or not. Similarly, differentiation and overall cost leadership, how low or how optimally you can come out with a product costing, that will tell you whether you can maintain the overall cost leadership in a highly competing market. Similarly, differentiation, how can you differentiate your product vis-a-vis the competitor's product. So, these are the three generic strategies which Porter gave for gaining competitive advantage, or which he said could be the generic routes to competitive advantage. So, you have this intensify function differentiation as one route, you have the exploiting competitors weakness as another route, also referred to as relative superiority. You have the aggressive initiatives as one more route, you have the strategic degree of freedom as another route. In addition to this, you can also make use of these three generic strategies given by Porter, that is the focus, differentiation and the overall cost leadership to gain competitive advantage. Now, faced in this type of or faced with this type of competition, now what is the type of marketing that you would suggest? So, you are already in this type of intense competition or hyper competitive market, all these types of things which we just said. Now, in this type of a market scenario, what is the type of marketing strategies you are going to suggest? So, the marketing strategies that you can suggest is a defensive warfare for market leaders. Why are you suggesting a defensive warfare for market leaders? He is already a market leader, he wants to hold on to his position. When he wants to hold on to his position, he may be adopting defensive moves, because he is already concerned that he might be dislodged from that number 1 position. What will the number 2 person in the market adopt? What is his warfare strategy? His warfare strategy will be an offensive warfare strategy. He wants to attack the leader's weak point, so that the leader can be discharged from number 1 and this number 2 becomes number 1. This happens, keeps on happening. Okay. Then suppose you are a player with limited resources. Let us say there are very big players with large number of resources or large resources at their command in the marketplace. You are a limited player. Then what are you going to do? The suggested warfare strategy, marketing warfare strategy is flanking warfare. Do not keep on attacking the leader. So, this is what Titan did when it entered the watch market. It did not attack HMT. It did not say that HMT's products, that is the watches which were put out by HMT, were of low quality or inferior quality and all this, nothing of that type of castigation. It said HMT's products range is like this, we are giving you a different range of products. Never attacked HMT. So, this is what is called the flanking warfare. Now, for a smaller company, let us say large number of big players are there, that is a number of big players are there, large companies, you are a very small player. I have taken here the example of a well known local player in Bangalore from the print media, that is Deccan Herald. This Deccan Herald compared to the other players in the market, say vis-a-vis the Hindu or the Times of India or the Statesman, is the circulation is small. Now, when other players, bigger players wanted to enter the Bangalore market a few years, a few decades back, Deccan Herald was naturally concerned, because it thought its hegemony is going to get upset by this entry of these bigger players. So, it resorted to what is called a guerrilla warfare, that is to prevent or postpone or delay the entry of these bigger players. So, it went into lot of court cases against these players. So, one of the first players to enter the print media publishing from Bangalore was the Indian Express. So, there was a what do you call a protracted litigation between Deccan Herald and the Indian Express, and in which the Indian Express won. The court said Indian Express is free to publish from Bangalore. This verdict was being watched with great curiosity and interest by the other players. What is the type of verdict that is going to come in this case between Indian Express and Deccan Herald? As soon as it turned out that Indian Express has won the case, in a very short time, number of other players, big players came into the Bangalore market, whether it is the Hindu or whether it is the Times of India. So many players came into the market, and on the very next slot Hindu said we are publishing from Bangalore also. So, this is what competition is all about. Whereas, if you really look at the example that I have given you for flanking warfare, I have taken the example of a toothpaste firm like Promise, which it says that my toothpaste has got clove oil. What is the advantage of having clove oil in a toothpaste? It can lessen the pain. Suppose you have, let us say, some what do you call teeth which is not good or which is somewhat defective, if you want to say in the manufacturing language. So, that type of teeth, the pain in the teeth, it can be reduced by the use of this clove oil. But there are number of big players. You have the Colgate, which comes out with a large variants of toothpaste. Now, what is the position of Promise in the present day? Its market share is very, very small, because whatever it was, its USP was, that is the unique selling proposition, that is that clove oil. The other players, especially the Colgate, also brought out this differentiating factor into its product range as well. It has come, you have got the Colgate Sensitive, you have got the Colgate Total. So, the promise is forced to compete with all these different variants by this giant player. So, that is what could be the, this is the example I took for this flanking warfare. Now, I give for you a very important diagram. This is called, this is a diagram which is given out again by Porter. This is called the firm's value chain. So, if you look at this diagram on the firm's value chain, what do you have? You have the primary activities, then you have the support activities. What could be the primary activities with respect to a company? The primary activities can be with respect to the inbound logistics, that is the raw materials. It can be with reference to the operations, that is the machining, assembly, testing, etc. Then the outbound logistics, it can be distribution, then marketing and sales, it can be advertising, promotion, etc. Or it can be services, that is installation, repair, all these coming under the realm of the primary activities. What are the support activities? The support activities are the firm infrastructure, that is the general management, accounting, finance, planning. Then the human resource management, it can be recruitment, training, development, or technology development, it can be R&D, process and product development. And the other support activity could be procurement, that is purchasing of raw materials, machines, supplies. Now, when do you get a profit margin? When you find that the sale price that you are, that is the selling price of the product, is more than the cost that is incurred on producing this product, you are going to make a profit margin. That is dictated by the firm's value chain. So, all these activities, the primary activities and the support activities put together, what is the cost that is incurred? It will tell you what is the profit margin that the company is going to make, and that is also the key for a company's competitive advantage. In other words, a firm's value chain holds the key to the competitive advantage of the firm in the marketplace. Suppose it can reduce its expenses either with respect to primary activities or with respect to support activities. What is it going to happen? It is going to increase the profit margins that the company has. To that extent, it will be placed better in the marketplace. So, this is a very important diagram which was given by Michael Porter in 1985 on the firm's value chain. And now what is happening? all the activities which Porter listed in this value chain, whether it is a primary activity or the support activities, they are being studied in more and more depth to see whether a firm can really gain competitive advantage and increase its profit margin. We will stop here, we will continue in the next class. Thank you.